Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Melissa Siegel and I'm a professor of migration studies. Today I want to talk about some facts and figures with regard to security-related forced migration. So just to recap, which I've also covered in some of my other videos, let's talk about the definition of refugees versus asylum seekers and also internally displaced persons. So according to the United Nations Refugee Agency, UNHCR, refugees are people who have fled war, violence, conflict, or persecution and have crossed an international border to find safety in another country. Refugees in general are defined by the 1951 Refugee Convention and are specifically defined as someone who is unable or unwilling to return to their country of origin owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion. Now, an asylum seeker is slightly different. An asylum seeker is someone who has requested for sanctuary in another country, so someone who would like to officially have refugee status, but that they haven't been fully processed, so they're still within the procedure. Now, an internally displaced person is actually someone who looks very similar to a refugee but has not crossed an international border. So let's now move on to how global displacement has changed over time. And here, as I said before, I'm really focused on security-related or security-induced displacement at the moment and will not cover as much displacement because of environmental issues. That will be for another video. So here I'm showing you some numbers from UNHCR for 2018, showing how displacement has changed over time over the last decade. Now, we have always had peaks and dips in displacement over time. We also had a lot of displacement in the 90s, but we are currently now in 2018 and 2019 seeing the highest numbers of displacement that we've ever seen since World War II, and this is really quite concerning. You can see now that, according to UNHCR again, we have more than 70 million people who are currently displaced for security reasons. Now, a bit more than 41 million of these are internally displaced people. So these are people who have not been able to actually cross a country border. Around 26 million of these people are actually refugees, so people who were able to flee across country borders, and around 3.5 million people are asylum seekers, so people who are currently in the process of asking for asylum and hoping to become refugees. Now you can see that there are actually a lot more internally displaced persons than refugees, even though what's often covered in the media and in policy discussions are more having to do with refugees. I bring this up because it is argued that actually internally displaced people are in an even worse situation than refugees. Now, why is this? That is because they're in similar security situations to refugees, but they're not actually able to find refuge or safety in another country, getting access to also international protection. At the same time, it's often very difficult to get services and aid to internally displaced populations because of security issues. It might be difficult to get aid convoys, to get food and water to these populations, and they're still in a high security risk situation. So they're even more vulnerable. Now, with regard to where these people are being hosted, there's a common misconception that refugees are mainly being hosted in Western developed countries. That couldn't actually be further from the truth. Around 86% of all refugees today are currently hosted in developing countries, and a good chunk of those are actually hosted in least developed countries. Why is this? It's because when in a displacement situation, what we generally see is that people just spill across international borders. So refugees are generally hosted in the same regions from which they come, because they are, trying to find the closest area for sanctuary, which really means that most displacement is hosted in the same region. The top 5 countries currently for hosting refugees, according to official numbers, are Turkey by far in the number 1 place, then Pakistan, Uganda, Sudan, and Germany. I'll come back a bit later to looking at the top 10. I do have to say that the top 5 probably would look a little bit differently if some countries kept better statistics and were properly registering refugees. To be honest, Jordan and Lebanon should probably be in the top 5 list, but because of the way they're currently registering or not registering refugees, they look like they're a bit lower on this list in absolute terms. Additionally, over half of all refugees today come from 3 main countries. That is Syria, Afghanistan, and South Sudan. Syria has taken over the number 1 spot from Afghanistan, who held the number 1 spot for 4 decades. But for the last several years now, Syria has been in that important number 1 spot. Sometimes it's difficult to really understand the scale of displacement when we talk about millions or such large numbers. So sometimes I like to break this down. To give you an idea, according to UNHCR, around 37,000 people were forcibly displaced from their homes because of conflict issues each day in 2018. I hope this puts this a bit more into perspective. Again, 37,000 people per day forcibly displaced from their homes. Now, we also had around a bit more than 13 million new displacements just in 2018. Now, when we think about how many people actually returned to their countries in 2018, this was around 3 million people that were returned, either internally returned or as refugees. So you can see that new displacement is growing much faster than people are able to return, and that's why we're seeing increasing numbers every year in forced displacement. Now, if we come back to the major host countries for refugees, as I said before, first Turkey, with around 3.5 million refugees currently being hosted in Turkey. Then Pakistan, Uganda, Sudan, Germany, which is actually a new entrant on this list and is one of the few highly developed countries that are on this list. Then we have Iran, Lebanon, Bangladesh, Ethiopia, and Jordan. And as I said before, actually Lebanon and Jordan should probably be in the top 5 if they were to be registering refugees more consistently. Now, that was just in absolute terms who's hosting the largest number of refugees. And as you could see there was only one highly developed country on the top 10 list hosting refugees. Now, if we look at this as a percentage of the population, again, based on official numbers, you can see that Lebanon and Jordan jump to the first spots, 1 and 2, and that's already with undercounting. Then we have Turkey, Chad, Uganda, Sudan, Sweden, South Sudan, Malta, and Djibouti. So here on this list, we actually have 2 small European countries that are hosting larger numbers of refugees. But it's very clear that Lebanon and Jordan really seriously outpace the rest in hosting refugees as a percentage of their populations. Now, if we look at IDPs and countries that have large IDP populations, there are a lot of probably usual suspects for you here on this list. But some people might be surprised to see number 1. So number 1 here is Colombia. So Colombia has historically had a large internally displaced population, also because of the FARC, because of different rebel groups and internal fighting that has been happening in Colombia historically. Then in the second place, we have Syria, then Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Yemen, Afghanistan, South Sudan, and Sudan. So again, I think these are those usual suspects. So we've covered now where refugees are going to, where they're coming from. different facts and figures on general displacement. So I hope that this has given you a better idea of what is going on, or at least what was going on during 2018 with regard to forced displacement because of conflict or security issues. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and keep a lookout for more videos along these lines. Hope to see you next time.